Westminster for another episode of Saving Time. This week is about saving time. I gotta tell you, no, seriously though, saving time. Because this meal is a make-ahead meal if you want it to be. We're making shepherd's pie. You make it ahead, cook it later that night. You can freeze it, it's a true time saver. I got the good buys this week from Zehrs, and they graciously donated it for us. 10-pound bag of potatoes for $2.99. Ground beef for $3.99 a pound, and you can buy 1 pound. Sometimes when they sell it for a good rate, you have to buy, the great big pack, but you can buy 1 pound at a time. And I got some frozen corn for $2.49. I'm not gonna get it out of the freezer to show you. Trust me on it, we'll have it out in a few minutes. Today I wanna kind of double dog dare you a little bit. And I really think that we can make this meal, get it oven ready in the same amount of time that I'm guessing people spend in a drive-through line for their morning coffee on a daily basis. If I can pull it off, I really want you to try one morning, swap out your drive-through coffee for a make-it-home coffee, drink it while you get this meal ready, and know that supper is only a half hour in the oven away from when you get home. Okay, or a kid away, right? Kids can put things in ovens. Well, not very little ones, but they're not home alone anyway. Kids that are old enough to be home alone can put something in the oven. And that would be your dinner. I don't know, I haven't done it this way. I'm gonna set a time, we're gonna look at the clock when it's time to start, and we're gonna see what I can do, okay? We're gonna see if it's possible. I haven't done any prep, I've got stuff on the counter, that's it. Let's see if we can do it. Wouldn't that be fun? That would be a great thing to know. We've got a pound of ground beef, 4 to 6 potatoes, depending on the size of them. If you've got all potatoes this size, you need 4. If you've got all potatoes this size, go 6. So split it, I've got 5. And think of it that way, you need 1 onion or at least half an onion. If you've got half an onion in the fridge, that's gonna be enough for you. I wanna start by getting our potatoes on. They're gonna take the longest. So let's start peeling. This isn't a big deal. We're just gonna peel these potatoes into this compost bowl and we'll be good to go. The time is 10 after 11. Let's see what we can do. So this, additionally, I think when I was writing things down, I got thinking about it. This 10-pound bag of potatoes and the bag of frozen corn, truly, if you bought 2 more pounds of ground beef, spent another $8, you could have 3 meals. 3 meals for under $20. That is a no-brainer, right? You could make them all up at the same time, eat 1 for dinner tonight, and the other 2 go in the freezer, and it's that easy. Can you imagine 3 meals for $20? Hard to figure why we were not doing it, isn't it? And then if you just have to throw your dinner into the oven from the freezer, you can, sit down and relax, or maybe make a dessert that night too. It's that easy. If you do put it in the freezer, you just need to bake it a little bit longer. I'll get around to that when we're ready at that point, but that's all it really comes down to. You can bake it from frozen. I've let it thaw. If I know in the morning that's what I'm gonna do, I have moved it to the fridge to thaw over the day. But it's easy enough just to put it straight from the freezer into the oven. Don't go from the oven to the freezer. You're going to regret that. I mean, go the other way only. So these potatoes are yellow flesh. It doesn't matter what kind you use. It's going to change the appearance slightly, and that's it. So any kind of potato that you have, these are nice ones, but if you have russets, it's just a little bit more peeling and cleaning up. No big deal. I've got the window open and it's lovely fresh air coming in. For a change, I'm not going to be running hot. So, the other thing, I've got all sorts of things I want to chat about. I don't know if you've noticed or if you notice these things at all. Who knows? This apron. Okay, this is a little upcycle apron that I made. And it's a simple process. And we're going to do a workshop here at Westminster and teach people how to make these aprons. It starts with a men's extra large shirt and turns into this. Like, how cute is that? And it's an upcycle project. If you don't have a fella whose shirts are extra large that you can get one from, steal it from their closet, then here at Westminster, every month we do 2 clothing depot sales of used clothing. And things are like anywhere from $1 up. Like it's really, really, really cheap. There's one on the second Saturday of each month and one on the fourth Saturday of each month. Lots of men's shirts here to come in, pick one out, and then work away at it. So pay attention. In the next couple of weeks, I'll let you know what date we're gonna make them. But I mean, if you can sew, you can make one of these in a heartbeat, I promise you. They're not at all hard. I'm cutting the potatoes relatively small so that they'll cook faster for us. And so these, imagine, you could make one of these for, you know, $2 an hour or two of your time. You've got people who cook on your Christmas list. What a fun gift idea, right? You pick out a shirt that looks like something they'd like in the way of pattern and zip one off, and imagine. People love these things, and upcycling is just smart, right? Like, how can you go wrong with upcycling? It just feels like a clever idea. Anyway, keep it in mind. I think that it'll be a fun workshop, learning how to do it, all of that. You can see how nice and small I'm cutting these. I want the fast cook. And not just because we're trying to beat the time at Tim Hortons or wherever you get your morning coffee, but because why not? The rest of the meal will cook as fast. So I just want it to be the same. And then oven ready. Now shepherd's pie, I'm going to make it, there's a funny spot on that potato, I'll just cut it off. Shepherd's pie, I'm going to make it today with corn niblets, but really, I mean, if you've got green beans in your freezer, use the green beans. If you've got peas, use peas. Any veggie will do. Carrots, anything at all, if you want a veggie in the center. I like the way the corn looks. When you cut the pie, it looks nice with the corn. So that's why I choose it. Because we taste our food with our eyes first. You know I'm going to say that. And look at us go. I mean, really, that's it. We're going to have a little bit of onion compost to add to the bowl, and it's, whoops, I caught it. I caught it with my apron. It's also magical. For $2 and a couple hours, you get a magic apron. How about that? There. I've already got a little bit of cold water in this pot. And straight in they go. And then we'll just get them on the stove and start it. And that'll be that. There we go. And finally, holy Dinah, there's the last few bits. That's the only hassle with cutting them up small. Wipe my hands off, so they're all starchy. We'll put a little dab of salt in there. There we go. And onto the stove they go to boil. We'll bring them to a boil and then set them back to a simmer. Actually, I think I'll go right there. Remind me to keep my eye on them. We'll do that in case all the reminders don't mean much. Next thing I want to do is start browning the ground beef. I've got a little better than a pound because it was $3.99 a pound. I've got $5 here. So just, it won't matter. I mean, don't go under a pound. It's okay if you go a little bit over. Don't go under. And just into a pan, get rid of that. And I'm just going to break that up a little bit right at the get-go so that it, sometimes if you start it all in a block like that, then it's kind of hard to split it up. So we'll split it up a bit right now. There we go. And this can go on. I'm going to go right there. Just start it on medium-low to draw some fat out of it. That's going. We need to cut up some onion. The onion's going to go in with the beef. Now, honestly, you know your family, you know what they like and don't like. This is a little onion, so I think I'm happy to use all of it. If you've got a nice big one, or like I say, a half of an onion already on the go in your fridge, use it. There you go, like that. We'll get rid of those edges. And so this versatile, delicious, who doesn't like it? I mean, you're just putting in things that everybody likes. Excuse me. I should say I have absolutely, without any qualms, used ground chicken as my base instead of ground beef, ground pork, veal, whatever you got. So don't feel obliged to stick with beef. It's already browning. Nice. I'm going to turn it down a little. It's browning faster than I need it to. That can go. And then cut your onion relatively small. Nobody's going to want a big piece of onion in there on their plate. You're looking for flavor. And then go back the other way. Easy peasy. I should say the 13th, Saturday the 13th is the next Clothing Depot sale. So if you're in our area, then consider dropping by. You know what? Some of the stuff, I see the stuff that comes in, sometimes it's brand new, it's got tags on it still and everything. You can't imagine what comes in. Leather coat, honestly, so many things. You really can't go wrong by coming and having a look, and it's a little bit fun, and it always feels good if you find a treasure. There we go. And I'll just go one more time like that. There. And as soon as I've got some fat drawing from this, then I'll go ahead and add it to this. I don't want to add any fat. By that, I don't want to add any oil to the pan. This is medium ground beef, so I will absolutely get a little bit of fat accumulating in here, and that will be plenty for adding the onion in. So just turn things a little, go slow. I could have used a bigger pan. I didn't have one here, so I need to think about investing in a larger saute pan for here. I'm going to turn this kettle on. I had it on before to start heating up, and that's just for making up some beef broth. I used the beef oxo sachet things, so I've got them in there. I did 2, because we're going to use 2 cups of broth. So that's good. All of our parts are getting sorted out. Let's get that bag of corn out. Corn. So $2.49, and all the veggies were. There's no need for us to pre-cook the corn at all, but we are going to let it thaw a little. I'm going to get this colander. Got a little bit of garbage there. 1 to 2 cups. This is the pan I'm going to bake my shepherd's pie in. And kind of think about that, because I want a layer of corn. So looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, that much is going to cover almost half of it. So I might do 2 and a bit. So just judge how many veggies you're doing based on the casserole dish you're going to bake it in. So I said 2 and a bit, that was 2, there's my bit. And this is sticking. There we go. And that's how we're going to get that going. I know I've got a twist tie here. And see what I mean? Like, there's enough there for 2 more. And there's certainly enough potatoes in here for 2 more. So another $8 spent. You've got 2 more meals. Just gonna put that back in there. That's almost to a boil. And this is going. I'm gonna go off camera for a minute. You can see at this point we're in just like 12 minutes, something like that. So we'll come back, we'll keep that clock rolling. You don't need to watch me stand here and do nothing. I am going to rinse this with cold water so it doesn't all glom up in one big block. And we're getting some fat accumulated in the pan now, so I feel comfortable adding in the onions. And that's all I'm going to do. Just, whoop, that's jumping around. I don't need that there. There, we'll do that. And there. Okay, they're in. And that to the side. We'll put that one in. No need to waste it. And we're just going to let that brown up, and it's already coming pretty close. I turn the heat up because I want it to get that fat accumulating. I'm going to turn it down now. Potatoes are almost to a boil. I went ahead off camera and added in 2 cups of boiling water. So that's just happy. soon as our ground beef is browned all the way through and we can't see pink anymore, we'll be adding the broth to it and then mixing up a gravy. Right now, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. Not much, just a little, because I know that the bouillon sachets I bought weren't sodium reduced, so there's going to be salt in that. I don't want to over salt with this. And then we'll do some pepper. And just give it a good shot of pepper. I mean, we need some flavor in there, and the pepper's lovely. It just gives it a nice background. It's not going to be too much for anyone in your household, just enough. Once we've added that, we're going to need to thicken it. So we're just going to make up a little slurry with cornstarch and water. Use, I'd say, about a tablespoon of cornstarch to start. We'll go just a little bit like that. That's probably going to be enough. Is that what I wrote down on this? Did I say a tablespoon of cornstarch? I said 2. We'll do it the way I wrote it so that we know it's right. There. That might not have been. There, okay, I'm going to cut it out now. I should have got the tablespoon measure out. Oh well. That would be so unlike me. We'll just push this around again. My potatoes are really at a good boil now. I may have to turn them back a little. It's just a few bits of pink left in here. It's almost done. This is going to boil over if I don't attend to it. There. Even with the spoon. We've got to be careful. Okay. This is good. I hope I'm not going to have a crazy full pan here. It was either use this or get out one of those great big stock pots that I need a stool to see to the bottom of. So, which I was doing the other day. We're getting ready to have a fundraiser here at the church and cooking up a storm. And I actually got the stool to stand on it to see down into the bottom of the pot, and I felt ridiculous. I'm not doing that on camera. This is almost there. And the corn has been down there. That's looking good. Okay, I'm going to pour this over. All we're going to do is pour this on and then get it to come to a boil and then stir in our thickening. I'm just going to give it a little stir. And in it goes. Comme ça. There we go. And I just want it to come to a boil so I can then add this in. I need a little bit of water in here to blend up my slurry. Just, I mean, I'm not going to measure or anything. Just think at least as much as you did cornstarch, right? So if you did 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, you need at least 2 tablespoons of water to make a nice slurry. And you may wish to make sure that you don't get any lumpy bits, grab a fork. Or if you've got a little tiny whisk, this is a great spot for a little tiny whisk. I have some little ones at home, but I know there's not a little tiny one here. There. As soon as this boils, we'll be able to add that. Those are coming along. We can stab them. They're going to need at least as long as this, and then we'll be ready to put it together. And see how this is coming together, just like that. All we're going to have left to do once this comes off, drain them, mash them with some butter and milk, and then everything gets assembled in the pan. That's it. That's it. So easy and so delicious. Everyone likes shepherd's pie. I think they do. I don't know anyone who doesn't. Turn that up a little bit to get it to a boil. Just keep an eye on it. I mean, obviously, if you turn it up, then you can't walk away. So if you're doing this and trying to drink your morning coffee at the same time, don't be walking away. Don't turn it up. Enjoy your coffee, go a little bit slow. And it's already coming to a boil. Good. Just, there we go. And now we'll start mixing this in. Just give it one more. You're just making sure there's no lumpy bits because they're not going to disappear once they hit the boiling. So just as you pour it in, stir at the same time. And we'll just do that. And then there. Keep that handy because if it doesn't thicken up enough for us, we might have to add a little bit more. Better to start with a little and then add than do too much and have it turn into a thick blob on you. You want a thick gravy, but it should still feel like gravy, not gelatin, right? Okay? So we're just gonna let that boil and see where it goes. You'll need a minute, and there, needs to thicken. Those are going great. I'm gonna stab them again and see. I cut them so small I can't hardly find one. They run away. They're almost done. And this, if you use, you can buy those like a gravy thickener product, and it's usually, it'll make a brown gravy. If you have something like that and you want a deep, dark brown gravy, by all means do it. Use one of those, but the cornstarch or flour and water, probably already have that in your cupboard, so no big deal. I feel like I'm gonna want more thickening, so I'm gonna let that simmer like that, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a little bit more. I feel almost certain we're gonna need more. So that's probably a real tablespoon. I'm gonna go 2 more. There. And then, that little bit of water in there again. Just gonna stir that so it doesn't get away from me. There we go. And down a little. And I'm just getting that little splash of water in there. Okay. We'll whip it up with the fork, our handy whisk. And I find cornstarch to be less likely to create a lump. Sometimes when you use flour, if you're gonna use flour, probably get the whisk out, okay? Because it tends to lump. And then you get white bits floating around in your gravy. Not ideal. It's not the end of the world, but it's not pretty. And I'm just going to add this again. And that's going to do it. Like I said, it's easier to err on the side of caution. You can't take it back. See, look at how quickly that's thickening up now. You can see the difference. It's just taking off now. So as it boils, it'll keep thickening. If you go too much right from the get-go, you can't take it back. Now, if that happened, you could add a little bit of water. And I would suggest if you're gonna add water, the water that you're cooking your potatoes in has some flavor in it. So don't just add water out of the sink, steal a little out of your potato pot. I think we can leave this safely for a minute. I'll come back on camera when we know this is done. Okay, those potatoes are ready, and I'm gonna bring them over here, drain them, and then we're gonna mash them. So through there, and then right back into the same pot for mashing. And I'm looking at the time, we've been just shy of 30 minutes right now, and we are, I'm guessing, within 10 minutes of eating. So that's being ready. Sorry, not eating. Bring your potatoes over here. I want to put about 1/4 cup of butter in there. And I always have my butter cut, which I'm sure you do too, because then it goes into the butter dish. So I've got 1/2 stick for 1/4 cup. And that's just simmering away and getting nice and thick for us. A little bit of milk for the potatoes. I can hear some people coming in, so we'll just do this. There we go. Because life happens. And we don't need an audience. There is no live studio audience at Saving Thyme, I'll tell you that. That would make me very nervous. We'll start with a little bit of milk. And the butter is the hardest thing to mash right now. Okay, just keep mashing. You want them to be soft. I'm gonna reach behind me, turn that off. It can be. And sorry, there's something under the table that's rattling. It was driving me crazy earlier, and when I went hunting for it, I can't figure out what it is. There's pots and bowls and stuff under there, and I don't know. I can't find the source of the racket. And here we are. This is just about mashed up. The mashing is making the rattling sound. that's it for our compost bowl this week. It's not much, but I mean, really, we haven't had any waste to speak of. The tray that the ground beef was on, and nothing to be helped about that. And other than that, I mean, this is a pretty good deal. There. There's our mashed. We can just put that right there for now. Now for shepherd's pie, the meat goes on the bottom. So, I'm going to bring my pan over here. And you can see we've got a decent gravy here, and it's got good color, right? Like, you just have to let it simmer away. And there, if it was a little bit thicker, that would be okay, but don't go too much thicker than that. You want gravy when you serve it. You don't want it to be a brick. Go straight into the bottom of that. Now I'm using a 9x13 pan, but if you've got a nice round casserole or something like that, use whatever you've got. If you're gonna freeze it, if you have something that has an airtight lid, then even better, right? Because then you can freeze it right without using a bunch of wraps or anything. There's that. Set that to the side. This is the corn. I ran the cold water over it a couple of times just to thaw it a little bit. You just don't want it to be frozen going in. Doesn't a lot matter though. I'm going to use my hands because I want to make sure I get good coverage, and I can't be sticking my hands in after the fact. So we're just sprinkle it around like that. You just want to try to get some. You've got to imagine that every piece, when you cut it at the table, that every piece is getting corn. And just keep moving it around. There we go. Now I don't need to be fussy anymore because everything's got some. And it's cold, I'll tell you that. There we go. And that part's done. Wipe my hands. And that little mess I made on the counter. And now our potatoes. I'm a little worried that I don't have enough potatoes, but I always worry I don't have enough potatoes. There's probably plenty. I mean, we did 5, so that's lots. That's 1 per person plus 1 for the pot. So just start scooping them on, and you want to get coverage, right? So just kind of put a spoonful along, and then we can split them out after. If you wanted to, you could if you're really preparing way in advance, if you let the meat cool for a while, it's easier to spread the potatoes on after because it starts to solidify a little bit and set. And then it's an easier task. So if you know you're doing this ahead, go ahead and do that. Make your life a little bit easier. There's lots. Now that I'm doing it, I realize, yeah, Margot, you have plenty. So, just scooping them on. You don't want to waste any. And I think we've done a bang-up job because we're so close to being done you can't even imagine. There you go. Last little bit. And we can use this one. It's got a little bit of gravy on it, and that's just fine. It's all going to have gravy on it here soon. And I want to scoop out the last bits. Better to use the plastic spoon for that so that we don't have to hear that terrible sound. There. Now, just with the back of your spoon, try pushing it around a bit so that you get decent coverage. You don't have to cover every square bit, like just spread it around. Again, like the corn, you want to make sure that everything's going to have potato. So just keep moving it around. Kind of wishing I'd done 1 more potato. It's probably fine, but I think I do. I wish I had 1 more potato in there. Go 6. Okay, I said 4 to 6, do 6. Do 6 so that it's nice. There. And all spread around. I wish I had 1 more potato. Absolutely do 6. Pretend that the 4 to 6 doesn't exist. And there, and then, last thing I want you to do, and this isn't necessary, but it makes it brown up nicely. I cut up about a tablespoon of butter and just dice it around a little bit and put a little bit here and there. Just spread it around. It helps it to brown up in the oven, and then it looks nice. You taste it with your eyes first. That's enough. So you can see how this is going to go into the oven just like this. It is 1:45, so that means we've been 35 minutes. I don't know what a drive-through line takes, but I'm guessing it's not outrageous during early morning on your way to work time to think that you might be 30 minutes in a drive-through line. And if that's the case, you could have your dinner ready. And that's saying something, isn't it? So all you're going to do with this, it's 30 minutes in a 350 degree oven. If you just got it ready for dinner, it can go in the oven right now. Okay. If you're setting it aside for dinner tonight, cover it with some foil, or don't use saran wrap, single-use plastic, quit using that. Use a piece of foil, it's recyclable. If your casserole dish has a lid, just put that on. Bottom's still pretty hot, so set it on a cooling rack so that there's some circulation there. And then put it in the fridge. And when you come home, take it out of the fridge while your oven preheats to bring it to room temperature so it's not cold going in. And then 30 minutes at 350. If it was very cold when it went in, might need 35 to 40 in the oven. You want to see that gravy bubbling up around the edges. That's how you know it's going to be done. If you're freezing it, cover it first with either a piece of, go ahead and use the cellophane here. Ideally, you have some freezer paper and you can put that right on the surface and then cover it with foil, or cover it with foil and then put the lid that your pan has that fits it on top of that. Double wrap for the freezer. And then again, when you go to cook it from frozen until it's bubbly around those edges, or thaw it throughout in the fridge throughout the course of the day, and then in 35 to 40. Any way you do it, this meal's ready. I'm not going to bake it today. I'm going to feed it forward to a family who can bake it when they're ready for their supper tonight, because as you can see, I've got this ready early in the day. I don't want them to have to warm it up. I want them to bake it and get that good smell in their kitchen while they bake it. So I'm going to deliver it as it is with cooking instructions. If you are interested in the apron and you think that would be a fun idea for you, please either make a comment on the video that says you'd be into that, or contact me at facility@westminsterorangeville.ca and let me know that you'd be interested. There's that drain making that noise. Put it. So strange, right? So strange. And by all means, please, if you enjoyed this video today, like the video. And if you want to see more of the recipes that we do here at Saving Thyme, subscribe and then hit the little bell so that you're notified when a new video comes out each week. I'd like again to say thank you to Zares for their support of our program here at Saving Thyme in terms of food literacy. And take good care. Bon appetit. This is going to be a wonderful supper.